G'day mates, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm doing a solo VOD review on none other than the controller EU god himself, Letshe. I want to teach you early and mid game your drop spot, how to find the best loot path for your drop spot, how to rotate out of your drop spot, and then how to just absolutely dominate in mid game fights like Letshe does. If you like today's video, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comments section down below who you want me to do next. There's now solo tournaments, so I'm doing so many more solo VOD reviews and trios as well. So if you want to see more of that content, please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thank you so much for the support on YouTube right now, guys. I really appreciate it. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Now, as this is an early and mid-game, mostly focused VOD review, I want to obviously start with Letshe's drop spot. Letshe drops Lazy Lake, and that's incredibly important because like with these VOD reviews, my goal is to give VOD review people and give you skills you can apply to your drop spot. This isn't just a Lazy Lake guide. I'm going to talk about why Letshe drops where he does and which building he drops in for certain reasons so you can apply that to your own drop spot. It's all about maximizing loot and minimizing risk. So, Letshe drops in this building here, one of the two major buildings, which is going to guarantee that he has a lot of loot and it's going to keep him quite controlled where he can loot without other players pushing him or no need to push other players if he's not dropped on. He drops on the roof and he loots from top down and he drops on a spot that has 3 floor spawns, 1, 2, 3, and then the chest. So that's incredibly important because he's not just dropping on a chest and nothing else or a floor spawn and nothing else. It means that right there, he saw the burst rifles on the roof. He dropped a little bit short. He dropped down and got the shotgun. So I see way too many people drop on a single chest spawn or a single floor spawn and then get annoyed they get 50-50'd. You're asking for a 50-50. There's only one gun there. The other person has to drop on it. Also, puts up a wall in front of that chest that you just saw to block off sight lines from this chest over here and the player on the roof over here. He just has that drop spot knowledge to make sure that he doesn't die to those stupid little deaths that throw people's tournaments and tilt them. Now, he also knows that this player on this opposing roof over here has to drop down into here to loot this chest. So whatever gun that he gets, if it's got any range like a pistol or an AR, he always comes here, sets up and tries to get a beam on that opponent. Unfortunately, this game, it doesn't work out for him, but again, it shows that drop spot knowledge. Now, he's got his minis. He's going to pop them and start looting his way from top down. Like I said, this is an insanely efficient loot path. Letshe has this down to a T. He pretty much gets 4 chests and about 5 floor spawns within a minute. And so far, no one's on him, so he's just taking his time. He's popping his shields. He's gotten a bit lucky, you know. He's gotten good drops so far. He's got a shotgun. He's got an AR. He's got full shield. Gets a launch pad as well. But again, he has a very efficient loot path. This is going to be his 3rd chest on the loot path so far. Breaks this wall, and you just know he knows exactly where he's going. This is his plan. You know he does it every game. Gets his 4th chest. Now, it's worth pointing out, he instantly starts to push this next fight. This house does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chest spawns, and then it has 2 in the courtyards outside. So he could sit here and loot a lot more slowly, and that's where I'm going to start talking a bit more about pacing for tournaments later. But this is one of his first 2 games of the day, and he's on EU. He needs to pick up the pace. So he has enough loot where he considers taking this fight. Uses the crash pads to take elevation. He'll almost always take fights from top down in his drop spot. He wants to prioritize high grounds and make his way down. And again, insane drop spot knowledge. Breaks through the lift, knowing that right now he is behind a one-shot wall that his opponent can't see through. He crouches so he can't hear him. Breaks the wall, comes out, instantly takes the wall. He took this wall so the player has nowhere to go. Jumps up, takes the stair, and then ends the player. There are so many things to break down what happened there, and I'm going to talk a lot about piece control today, so I want to just make sure I define it for you very quickly. Piece control is controlling the builds around the fight that you're in. So having the wall, having the floors, having the roof, having the stairs, the more pieces that you control, the more control you have. You can use them, you can move around them, you can use them defensively, offensively. Letshe is a god of it, especially for a controller player. But again, I'll talk about it specifically what that means later. So, gets his first elimination now. Has some spare shields. He branches out his box. So again, he now has all these builds around him. He doesn't sit inside the enemy's wood builds or the builds that he can't control. Hears that a player is coming. Gets ready to set up for an ambush. Make sure all his weapons are reloaded. Gets the edit ready, but doesn't actually open the edit because he wants the element of surprise. Comes out. The opponent had the surprise on him as well. Gets the fight. Not an incredibly clean fight, but he closes it out. So again, things I want to recap about your drop spot. You need to have an efficient looting path. Make sure you get as much loot as possible, keeping yourself at minimal risk Make sure you can't be seen by every other player in the lobby as you loot it. Don't just sit on the rooftop with an AR. And then make sure that you know your drop spots and the loot paths of the opponents around you. I talked in my VOD review of Benji, Letshe, and Savage as a trio. They pay attention to the timing of opponents around them at the drops to know where they rotate. It same goes for your drop spot. Know how long it takes an opponent roughly to loot a building and try to figure out where they might be in that building based on the knowledge you have of the drop spot. Letshe saw those players on the roof. He guessed that he would be on that exact level, drops down and gets a free limb for it. Learn your drop spot, stick to your drop spot, and know how many players drop around you, and make sure you have the most efficient looting path. You saw me open up lootlake.info. This is a website I'll put in the description. It tells you where all the chest spawns are, where all the floor spawns are. This is where you can find your drop spots. I have a solo drop spot video, but make sure that you know that as much as you can about your drop spot, and this is where it all starts. If you're like, hey, I want to start dropping Misty Meadow, you go to Misty Meadow, you look at some houses. Okay, I can see this house has 3 chests. Are there other chests close together? Are they on the top level? Are they on the bottom level? Do I have to travel out in the open to loot the chests? Those are the things you need to ask yourself when you're coming up with your own drop spots. Don't just copy my drop spot routines. They work, but you can come up with your own ones that suit you as well. Now, we've talked about drop spots. Now let's talk about what happens when you leave your drop spot. Once Letshe's beaten his drop spot, he has 2 main rotation paths that he goes, or 3, depending on zone. He normally either rotates towards Misty Meadow Lakes to make sure he can scout out that area if the zone pulls far north, so he gets an easier rotate, doesn't have to go straight through the middle of the map near authority. But if it's one of the first or second games of a tournament, it's very important to note that Letshe pushes caddy corner. So I haven't talked about this too much in any of my other VOD reviews. When you're playing solo cash cups specifically, there's skill-based matchmaking. The more points you get, you're going to verse more difficult opponents because they're going to have more points as well. So if you really want to do well, your best chance to go aggressive and pick up lots of points is going to be in your first game because it's where there's no skill-based matchmaking. No one has any points. This is why NA East and EU specifically, because they're the 2 biggest regions, always go super aggressive in their first and second game. So Letshe pushes caddy corner in his first game of the tournament because he wants that caddy launcher and he wants to run the risk, where second game he doesn't do that. So it's worth noting, if you're trying to place better in tournaments, when we talk about pacing for tournaments, you want to go aggressive early. Most of the pros, they know if they don't drop a 10 to 15 a limb win in their first game, they're going to struggle to place in that tournament for money because all the other top tier pros are, and they're going to be that much further ahead. So when they go into the harder skill-based matchmaking lobbies against each other, they've already got that point difference. So again, it's worth thinking about your rotations. I talked about it in my trio VOD review of Letshe, Benji, and Savage. Go into your replay files, look at the rotations of players around you. In solos, it's harder to do, but look, okay, 3 people went Misty. How long does it normally take 3 people to leave Misty? If the zone pulls north, where do they go? You'll pick this up naturally as you stick to your drop spot, but it's why drop spot knowledge is so important. You need to know how to do your drop spot like I talked about before, but you need to know where to rotate next based on the players around you and based on things like what game in a tournament are you, how many players have gone down, things like that. Where did the bus go? You need to know where players rotate and have a think about that. Now, to talk about mid-game fights for Letshe, I'm going to break it down into 2 main areas. 1, piece control. Making sure that you control all the different builds around your opponent when you're taking fights to make sure that you can close them out quickly and safely. And 2, how to deal with third parties. So first off, piece control. Letshe is an absolute god of piece control. So he's into a fight here, tries to take the wall, can't play it. The one thing to notice here, this opponent has made a massive mistake in this fight, and it's one that you need to make sure you don't make. Again, look at the piece control. He takes the roof, the cone, and the cone on the floor. So he assumes that the player's going to edit out this way, and if he does, he's going to be stuck here with nowhere to go unless she's going to destroy him. He doesn't actually end up going out that way, but these are the things you need to start doing in your fights to close them out. Now, huge mistake here. This player breaks the stair inside their base. He is now on a flat. You almost never want to be fighting on a flat unless you're incredibly fast reaction time and very smart. This is going to be why. So Letshe tries to take the wall, gets the wall, instantly puts the cone in. This is why. If this player was on a cone or on a stair, they'd have a chance in this fight still, even if Letshe took the floor, because they'd have that piece control inside their build. They'd either have a stair on top of Letshe's head, so Letshe has to break another piece, or they'd have a cone on the ground that they can edit, or they can crouch behind and hide. But no, the player's fighting on a flat, so what does Letshe do? Edits it out, gets a beautiful right-hand peek. This guy's got nowhere to go, and he finishes him off. It ends up being way closer than it needs to be, because Letshe misses a couple of shots, but do not fight on a flat. Letshe absolutely abuses players fighting on flats all the time. I'm going to get you another clip right now of that. This is literally the very same game, by the way. So it shows how often he does it. I'm not just picking a once off to try and like make an example out of this. Two players are fighting, scares one off by trying to do some damage to him, pushes him down, looks around the corner, sees this player just edited that wall. This is huge to notice. This player just put a stair out here. So Letshe knows he just edited this wall, which means it's going back to low durability. When you reset and edit on a wall, it's going to go back down to low health, not be fully built. So what does Letshe do? Instantly jumps down, one pickaxes the wall, replaces the wall, and then throws a cone straight in. Again, this player is fighting on a flat. Not only, obviously, that wall take was super impressive and that cone was super fast, but if this player, again, was fighting on a cone or on a stair, they would be in a such better position right now. But instead, Letshe walks straight in with the cone, gets a beautiful shot, SMG finishes the opponent off. It's just ridiculously good piece control. He always takes the pieces that he can and knows when things are low health. Now, having an enemy reset a wall is not the only way to abuse a low health wall or getting a free wall take. I'll show you another example that Letshe hits now as well. This starts to move into my category of dealing with third parties, but we see Letshe in another fight here outside caddy corners, which he's pushed from Lazy Lake because he wants his hands on that shockwave launcher. Now, very keen to note, he tries to take the wall. He's playing from low ground here. The reason why he hasn't gone for high ground is because this player has the caddy launcher, so he knows he can just blast through the floor anyway. So he doesn't want to take the risk of being on high ground if it's not going to give him any advantage. Now, boxes up next. This player sees the third party coming in. This opponent is now quickly pushing. This is going to be an issue. This is either going to turn into a very, very scrappy fight against an opponent that he can't take high ground from because he has the caddy launcher. So his option is he needs to end this fight quickly. So as you notice, we probably actually didn't even notice, before he came into this box, he shotgunned this wall once and weakened it. He knows this wall's weak. Sees third party coming in. All right, it's do or die. This wall is still now on very low health because this player hasn't repaired it. And look what he's doing. He's fighting on a flat. So what do you think is going to happen? Letshe takes the wall, takes the cone, walks in, shotgun, double AR headshot, and now he's won the fight. There's now a third party. He breaks that wall and takes it back himself for the piece control. And then he wins this fight as well. Spoiler alert. But again, it's just, he's just walks out and clean destroys the guy. But don't fight on a floor. Know the health of the walls around you. Know what's one pickaxeable and be ready to defend against it. Or if you're Letshe, be ready to take advantage of it. Have the confidence to push in. And when you're getting third partied, end the fight as quickly as possible if you don't have the advantage. Normally for me in third parties, you have two options. If the player is pushing you, you need to take high ground, so you have full control, or you need to eliminate the opponent very close to you, or you need to disengage. Letshe right now had no mobility, so disengaging isn't a great option. He can't take high ground because the player's got the caddy launcher, so his only choice was to get in and go aggressive, and that's what he does. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a different way to deal with third parties right now as well. So now we're moving into endgame. Letshe's got his hands on the caddy launcher. He didn't drop there. He got it earlier in that fight that I was talking about. Again, this has all happened in a few games. Letshe's insane. So uses the caddy launcher aggressively to try and break into this player's builds. It doesn't work. Now, there's 10 players alive. He has 8 eliminations. It's a pretty small zone. He hits this player very, very hard. You think most pros would now chase this down, and most players would. This guy's really low. I need to get the elim. But you hear all those shots coming out. Third partying is now happening a lot. He's getting shot from 2 different angles as well as his opponent. So instead of going super hyper aggressive and just chasing him through builds and risking getting double dinged or lasered from another opponent, he pushes back into his own hard mats. So he pushes back here where he's got this wall fully built, this wall fully built, this floor fully built, and the roof fully built, all of hard mats. So he is now way less third partyable. So he drops back in here, breaks this floor out, so now he can try and find an angle on this player, and he starts spraying as well. He gets out of this messy situation, and now look, the player is still spraying. This third party is still going on and applying pressure. Now Letshe pushes down, gets that piece control again, puts a cone on the floor, assuming the player's going to edit out here, and look, player edits out, he's stuck on a cone, no idea where to go, unless she destroys it. You guys know what's going to happen. But again, dealing with third parties, you have several options. You need to end the fight quickly, or you need to get back in a defensible position. Or if you're Letshe, just do both. So you need to know if you can end a fight quickly. And how you're going to end a fight quickly? Piece control. With this new shotgun, fights are going to play out a lot slower because it's a lot harder to get in and do a max damage pump. You can't just edit through and one pump them. You need to edit through, usually have to shotgun them, and then have them stuck in that box so you can AR and SMG them. You need the piece control to end fights quickly to make sure you don't get third partied and just to destroy opponents. But if a third party comes out, you need to go for an all or nothing straight in their box, usually with piece control, or back up into a more defensible position, spray out some of the builds, regain that piece control, and then keep going forward. That's the worst thing about third party in the current meta. It really changes how the fights work. And because you have this new charge shotgun that is a lot harder to use and a lot slower, or you have attack that's going to hit for a lot less, you need to have flawless piece control to make sure you don't get stuck in an awkward mid-game fight. Last thing I want to talk about for mid-game fights is we're going to take a fight where Letshe isn't in control, where Letshe gets put on the back foot and what he does. So he's pushing opponent above him, he's taking hunting rifle shots, trying to get some damage out, because again, hunting rifle is very low risk, very high reward. If you get a free headshot, you may as well. Player drops down, he's on top of the cone, he's got the low ground, he's trying to find these angles, gets tagged a little bit, boxes up, realizes he's versing maybe a decent opponent, needs to box up, edits out, player does a really nice edit and gets him down to 1 health. Letshe does a bit of a misplay there. He edits out, not knowing where the opponent's going, lands a phenomenal shot. He's now down to 1 health. It's a pretty dire situation, only has 3 minis, but it's Letshe. What does he do? He instantly edits out and cracks his opponent smack bang on the chest, because this opponent thought that he was going to go defensive because he's hit him so hard. Letshe knows, if I go defensive here, this guy's going to whittle me down. He's going to just SMG me through the walls. He needs to go aggressive. Gets a heavy shot off. And now look at the piece control. He has now put this player in such an awkward spot. Got all the walls, the roof, and the stair. Now look what this player's got to deal with. Absolutely nothing. He now places a stair, edits this floor. Again, it happens so fast you can hardly see it. He edits the door, sorry. And then now this opponent, it's too tantalizing to deal with. A door edit, when you've got the charge shotgun fully charged and you can walk through and shoot, is almost too much for most opponents. This guy's on like 1 health. I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna finish him. He doesn't realize Letshe is phasing this stair right now. So he can shoot through this stair. It looks like it's there, but it's not actually there as far as blocking shots. Letshe hits a 93 shot, jumps above the stair, so he can't be targeted anymore, but he grabs the edit on the wall before he jumps above the stair, which means that he can reset the wall and now still stand on top of the stair and not get shot back. This player is now completely dazed and confused, has no idea what's happening. Letshe flips the stair, edits a window, gets a right-hand peek, and shoots the player for 32. With the peek that Letshe just had, this player could not physically possibly shoot Letshe back. He had such good piece control and such a good angle, this opponent could not shoot him back. They were stuck up against the wall with a window edit, a left-hand peek, a stare on their head into the ground. So this all came about because Letshe got hit down to 1 health, and he didn't just box up and start running like most players did. He knew that the player would get cocky or would go aggressive on his wall. He edited out and he turned the fight around. This player just got absolutely demolished. That's one of the cleanest fights I think I've ever seen. And as you can hear, Letshe's pretty pumped about it too. Now, I know I talked about a bunch of stuff today, so I just want to recap it in its simplest form so you know what to take away from this and you know what to work on in future. Have an optimized loot path. Doesn't matter where you drop, go on lootlake.info or just drop there and learn what is the most efficient way to loot that drop and make sure that you're as safe as possible from other people shooting at you. Then, what are the rotation paths of players around you? What time is it in a tournament? What is the goal of this game? Do I need to rack up a lot of points or do I need to have a nice safe game? And then focus on the rotations of players around you to know where you should go to get to the next zone depending on that. If you need to have an aggressive game, go where you know people are gonna be. If you need a defensive game, try to avoid people. Then, for your mid-game fights, piece control is everything. If you're on the defensive, never sit on a flat unless you have inhuman reaction times to make sure what Letshe does to people doesn't happen to you. Or if you're Letshe and you're going aggressive on builds, have the piece control of builds around it. Place those floors and cones next to them if they're beneath you, so if they edit out, you can edit down into them. Or get ready to put floors and cones into people's boxes if they don't have any already, and try to weaken walls and try to change which walls you go for. Go for a wall that an enemy has just edited, or go for a wall that you've already previously weakened that they don't realize. Get the jump on them and go aggressive. When dealing with third parties, make sure you either have a position of defensiveness, go back into hard mats, go into builds and hold your position, or finish the fight insanely quickly. Use that piece control to get into someone's box and end the fight. These are things you need to do if you're going to focus on your earlier mid-game fights in solos. All right, guys, that does it for another VOD review. Thank you so much for the support on my YouTube channel right now. It is insane. I've gone from 15,000 subs to over 20K in like a week. Really, you guys are amazing. So I hope you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please chuck a like on the video. Again, let me know in the comment section who you want me to do next. Do you want me to do a solo VOD review, trio drop spots? Do you want me to focus more on piece control? I read your guys' comments. Let me know what you want and I will give it to you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, if you want to ask me any more of these questions or check out where I learn a lot of this gameplay or where I talk about a lot of this, I actually stream a lot more than I make YouTube videos. So if you haven't checked out my stream, please check it out. It's twitch.tv/Aussie Antics. I'd love to have a chat with you and hear your thoughts. And yeah, Thank you so much, guys. Wherever you are in the world, morning, night, have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video.